Hello, I'm Kamali, taking you through some of the things people are talking about and some of the stuff they're sharing around the world on NewsFeed today. Was Facebook weaponized by the military in Myanmar? Addiction to technology is a growing problem. We hear from a professor who's trying to treat it.
I think it's safe to say any white racism is well and truly rife in our society.
Oh, wow. Senate each.
An Australian senator says there's a growing anti-white racism in Australia. Spoiler alert, there isn't. And a 10-year-old rock star takes centre stage at a Foo Fighters concert. Now, top of our newsfeed, Facebook as a weapon of war. While that may seem hyperbolic, it's increasingly becoming recognised that Facebook has been weaponized in many places across the globe. And our focus today is one of the most egregious recent examples in Myanmar. Now, we've reported before how Facebook was used to spread lies and misinformation there, leading to the exodus of hundreds of thousands of Rohingya. Well, now new reporting suggests that those lies were being systematically spread by the military. They set up hundreds of pages and accounts and used them as a weapon to persecute the Muslim minority. Now, an Indian man is being treated for his addiction to Netflix. And an addiction to technology is a growing problem that humanity will have to deal with. We spoke with a professor who works with those who can't control the amount of time they spend on their devices.
He was watching something that was absolutely elevating dopamine in his brain, and so it's not surprising that he was using it like a drug to manage his emotional state. And that's really what addiction is. It starts out as something that you do to manage a negative emotional state that then becomes a problem unto itself. So internet and video game addiction are similar. Really, video game addiction is sort of a subset of internet addiction. So because people can become addicted to many things online, whether that be video gaming or surfing or social media or pornography. The only one that's received official diagnosis and classification is video games. But I think that the statistics are fairly similar for other aspects of internet addiction as well, although we don't have an official diagnosis yet for those. So internet and technology addiction are no different than any other addiction. You have to change patterns of behavior. You have to find ways to cope with the emotional trigger states that lead to the addiction. You have to limit your access to the content. You have to develop alternate coping strategies for managing your emotions, and then develop a plan to avoid relapse in preventing yourself from going back to it. The other thing you need to do is find alternative real-time strategies in your life that can elevate dopamine and give you pleasure without the screens as your main source.
All right, here's a look at some of the other things that caught our eye on social media. Tributes are being paid to the co-founder of Microsoft, Paul Allen. He's died at the age of 65. He had cancer. Now, after setting up one of the most successful and influential companies on the planet and coming up with a name, Paul Allen used his huge wealth for good. He spent billions literally on research in science, tech and education. He worked to end elephant poaching and owned a number of sports teams. Not trending yet, but it will be. The Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam say they will be live streaming the restoration of one of their greatest works, Rembrandt's The Night Watch. Now, fixing up the painting from 1642 will take years, and people will be able to watch as it's done in real life from behind a glass screen at the museum and online via a 24-hour live stream. Now, it's smog season in Delhi, and the singer Bryan Adams has had a concert there. The two events aren't connected, I am told. The Canadian singer posted this ghostly image to his Insta saying it showed, quote, magical India. The smog in the city kills 30,000 people every year. An Australian senator has tabled a motion to deal with what she claims is the growing problem of anti-white racism. Here's Karen Middleton.
Well, the Australian government is facing some embarrassment here today after endorsing a motion in the Senate complaining about racism against white people.
I think it's safe to say any white racism is well and truly rife in our society.
Oh, wow. Senator Hinch.
This was a motion that was put forward by the One Nation Party, which is an extreme right party here in Australia. It had been sitting on the notice paper for about a month beforehand. And what happens with a motion like this is it goes to the Attorney General's office, for the Attorney General's office to check whether there are any legalities, legal concerns with it. And if not, and it's ticked off, then the government makes a decision whether or not to support it. And in this case, the Attorney General's office said that it could be supported. And so government senators, and the government here is a centre-right government, endorsed the motion. Now, it didn't succeed in the Senate. It was lost by 2 votes because the Greens and the Labor Party in opposition did not support it. They complained that it was racist in itself, provocative, and that it was using terminology, it's okay to be white, which is used by neo-Nazis and extremists. But now the government has said that it was what they're calling an administrative process failure, a mistake, that they supported it, but they didn't mean to support it after huge backlash from people who said it was not a great thing for the government to support. And now they've apologised, and they've in fact sought to have the vote again. So the vote has been put again in the Senate, and this time the government voted against it. But what they can't explain about the mistake is why the Attorney General himself and a number of other members of the government took to social media after the first vote was held last night and defended it. So it's a very embarrassing situation for the government at a time when there are a lot of sensitivities around the issue of immigration and race, and it's really had to try and clean up a mess today that was all of its own making.
And the reaction has been largely negative, as you can imagine. Darren Hinch wrote this: pleased to report that Pauline Hanson's "I'm so white, so okay" racist stunt failed in the Senate, but disgusted the Liberals and Nationals voted with her. And Matt Doran added that the government saw the motion from Hanson about white racism in September. The government forgot about it, and then the government allowed their senators to vote for it. Ministers cheered for it on Twitter, then the government read it properly and apologised. Australian politics. Okay, around the world now for some other stories you need to know this Tuesday. The guy who created Instagram says that social media sites need to back off and trust users with their own data. Kevin Systrom left Facebook, which owns the gram, back in September and said no one ever leaves a job because everything is awesome. He was giving an interview to Wired and said that the most important thing for social media companies to realize is that users are best placed to be in control, not the companies whose sites they use. The former president of Iran, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, has revealed himself as a Tupac fan. He tweeted some of the lyrics of Pac's track Changes while marking the anniversary of the founding of the Black Panther Party in 1966. He wrote, "One of the main objectives of the Black Panther Party was feeding the hungry, which did not sit well with the US government. Brother Huey, October the 15th. Then he added the line, it's time to fight back. That's what Huey said. 2 shots in the dark, now Huey's dead." Who knew? Thailand's Prime Minister didn't have the social media coming out party he was hoping for. The former general, Prayut Chan-o-cha, opened a Facebook account at the weekend and was quickly bombarded with negative comments. Some called him a burden on the nation, others said they were going to vote for his opponent. Elections will be held in Thailand next year, the first after 4 years of military rule. And this internet masterpiece is hanging in the presidential dining room of the White House. It's Donald Trump and a bunch of Republican presidents, including Ronald Reagan, Abraham Lincoln, and Richard Milhous Nixon. And they're depicted laughing in some imagined bar scene. It's weird, but not when you realize that this picture hangs, that one, in Donald Trump's other house, Mar-a-Lago in Florida. Cool. The US Embassy in Australia sent out this image, which looked to be an invite to a cat, pajama and cookie party. Sadly, it wasn't. Apparently, it was sent out in error as they were trying a new email system. They added, "Sorry to disappoint those of you who are hoping to attend this cat, pajama jam party, but such an event falls well outside our area of expertise." And this happened at the aquarium in Toronto. A man decided to take all his clothes off and go for a swim in an exhibition called The Dangerous Lagoon. There are 17 sharks in there. And what seems like a stupid and risky stunt got stranger as police now say the guy in the video is wanted for assaulting someone outside the Medieval Times attraction about an hour before the skinny dip. Typical night in Toronto, beat someone up, skinny dip with sharks, go on the run from the cops. Oh, Canada. Mr. Pierre Company has been voted in as a mayor of a municipality in Brussels, and he got some congrats on social media from his superstar sons.
Black mayor in Belgium. It's never happened before. It's historical. We're all happy. Yes. Congratulations to my dad.
And last up, we have some viral video of a young rock star who got to live out the dreams of every air guitar hero, including my producer Louis. It begins with Dave Grohl inviting a kid called Collier Cash to play with the Foo Fighters, and then they did a Metallica cover. Enjoy.
You want to do a Metallica song? You want to do a Metallica song? All right. Do I know a lot of Metallica songs? Ian Taylor knows Metallica songs. Hit him with it, Collier.
fantastic that Qatar was nearly as big as him. That's all from the NewsFeed team. Reach out to me with your questions, comments, complaints and suggestions. I'm at Kamali Melbourne. You'll find us 24/7 on Twitter, YouTube and Facebook. Follow, subscribe and add. See you again tomorrow.